Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
The following portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishel Adderley. Thanks for joining us. An early afternoon heist has a deadly end. A robber was shot and killed this afternoon by a security guard of the John Shea No. 8 food store on Carmichael Road. He was attempting to make off with an undetermined amount of cash, according to police, when he was shot. Police say they received a call around 1 o'clock this afternoon about a robbery in progress at a site at Carmichael and Gladstone Roads. Superintendent Paul Roll told reporters what police found when they arrived.
What we know is that a lone male entered the establishment armed with a shotgun and we believe a handgun, where he demanded cash of the cash registers. 3 of the cashiers on the inside were robbed of an undetermined amount of cash. He then fired off this shotgun on the inside. The store was crowded at the time with customers, and in the process, the security guard who was on duty engaged the suspect. There was an exchange of gunfire, resulting in this suspect being fatally shot.
Now, although police were not able to release the identity or age of the robber in this early stage of their investigation, they tell us that the robber was responsible for, or is believed to be responsible for, a spree of holdups in the area this week.
The EMS responded, and several of the customers on the inside are noticeably shaken. And there was also another robbery just prior to this. We believe the same suspect is responsible.
In other news tonight, Prime Minister Perry Christie today revealed that there could be another player in the mobile phone game soon. The government has been in talks with Digicel toward this end. Janaea Noel Ferguson has more on those possibilities and the status of talks with Cable and Wireless over the government's wish to regain majority shares in BTC.
According to Prime Minister Perry Christie, governmental talks with Cable and Wireless to take back majority shares of the company have suspended for the Christmas holiday. These discussions, however, are expected to resume in the new year. But the Prime Minister says BTC maintains a desire to hold on to its majority interest. He, however, does not expect negotiations to continue for much longer.
It won't be long into the new year before the government makes a decision as to whether or not it is worth continuing. So it's not a matter that would be protracted.
Prime Minister Perry Christie said that talks between BTC and Cable and Wireless have halted until January of next year. He did reveal that he is in discussions with a new company, Digicel, who is interested in entering the market.
It's Digicel who has been in touch with me, representative of Digicel, who has been a significant competitor.
So what type of ideas do you have with them?
No, it would not be fair for me other than to say I have sought the advice of the negotiating committee with respect to their making an approach to me, and I represents the 49% shareholder of the BTC as it exists today. And there is an obligation to ensure that as a 49% shareholder, I do the right thing and say the right thing.
He added that competitors like Cable Bahamas and other international carriers are gaining momentum as BTC's monopoly for wireless service will end soon. But as it stands, the Prime Minister says he's not satisfied with BTC's quality of service.
Difficult to drive around New Providence and have a conversation without it being interrupted. We are concerned about areas like that. So one of the things that we are really looking forward to is an improvement in the service.
Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Minister of Transport and Aviation Glenys Hanna-Martin today confirmed that the government has been in talks with stakeholders to take control of the country's airspace. Currently, the United States, through the Federal Aviation Administration, controls most of the country's airspace.
It will be a state-to-state negotiation process between the Bahamas and the United States of America. And then there is also a commercial component with the Department of Civil Aviation. So we will be operating on those two tiers of negotiation, state to state, which is sovereign use of the airspace, and the commercial concept, which deals with how the relationship can now be rationalized. Because as it is now, the Bahamas receives no benefit.
Minister Hanna-Martin estimates it'll take about another 6 months to wrap up the talks. She highlighted, though, the importance of the government achieving this goal.
It's a costly, they're capital intensive. This is now a burden on our public treasury. Ideally, in the flight information region or airspace control, the revenue goes to airport sustaining mechanisms. We don't have that. It comes from our public treasury. And so we have to rationalize this relationship.
The National Insurance Board saga continues while allegations have surfaced involving the chairman, MP for Marcos City, Gregory Moss, and Director Algernon Cargill. Cargill remains on administrative leave. And while there have been calls by the opposition for Moss's resignation, the Prime Minister has said that this won't be the case, and an audit and investigation on all allegations will be carried out and its outcome made public.
Mr. Moss satisfied me sufficiently, right, to know that I was correct in agreeing to an audit and that the audit will produce a result upon which I will act. I'm satisfied that the National Insurance Board is under no threat as it is now. You know, insofar as I am concerned, we have now to move forward as aggressively as we can.
Mr. Christie added that the matter has caused him to take a closer look at the National Insurance Board and how it operates, as well as the laws it's governed by.
It is a sad outcome, really, that it has gone to the point where it's gone because, you know, confidential disclosures on applications to the board by a company that is 100% owned by Bahamians, for example, a British-American company, those sorts of things being made subject of public discussion when the people who apply to the National Insurance Board in a very real and serious way have been brought into contempt.
The Oil Spill Contingency Committee sprung into action yesterday to determine the severity of that oil spill off the Grand Bahama coast yesterday. According to preliminary reports provided by the committee, the spill is likely to have little to no impact on the marine environment. But as Jimanita Swain tells us in this report, they're not taking any chances.
Around 4:30 Monday morning, while leaving the Grand Bahama port, a Mediterranean shipping vessel, the Eugenia, started leaking oil. Minister of Transport and Aviation Glenys Hanna-Martin says the captain and crew reported seeing bubble formations of heavy crude oil coming from the vessel in the water, and they worked feverishly to stop the leak.
They began repairs of the tank. What was damaged, and we're not clear on the cause of the damage. It is a storage tank that was holding approximately 3,000 barrels of fuel. So in addition to putting the boom around the vessel, excuse me, they also transferred the oil from one holding tank, which was damaged, to another holding tank, which was intact. And that had the effect of staving off an increased flow.
Minister Hanna-Martin says it's unknown how much oil spilled into waters off the northern Bahamas. The committee also opted not to use dispersal chemicals to break down the oil because experts believed it would have caused the oil to sink to the ocean floor and potentially harm the marine environment. However, because the spill is classified as a Tier 1 spill, the lowest of 3 in the scale, minimal damage is expected.
It was our view that the natural ocean currents will take it out to sea. And in that regard, I want to reiterate that the harbor is not at risk. In fact, cruise ships came in as this whole thing unfolded. No coastal area is at risk. No beach area is at risk. It is an at-sea event, and it is our view that the normal ocean currents will take care of it. but we will continue to monitor it.
Now, once the Eugenia is removed, officials from the Bass Commission are expected to complete an on-site assessment of the vessel's path to determine if there was any harm to the marine environment.
From a tourism perspective, it's very critical because our marine environment is what drive our tourism economy. We also have to look from a social perspective as well, because Bahamians also socialize as a result of our coastal environment. So that is the concern.
The Eugenia is expected on dry dock today in preparation for an investigation and to undergo repairs. Chiminita Swain, ZNS Network News.
Well, still to come in the Bahamas tonight, men on a mission. Coming up, we'll tell you if they were able to pull it off.